support the laity of WCC in this month of August as they bring their passions and gifts and talents and spirit in support of you and your journey of spirit. And welcome to Create Your Experiences and vice versa. As Jeffrey has often said, there is great wisdom in this group, and I hope you'll be drawn to sharing some of your personal wisdom with us this morning. And if not, I thank you for what you're sharing by virtue of just being here. As many of you know, I'm passionate about viewing humanity as filled with creative potential. And I'm also passionate about the value of personal experience. So rather than choose one or the other, for today, I chose both. I do have some short bursts of audio-visual material as part of my talk. And for those of you who are on phone, you'll hear the audio portion, and I'll briefly describe what's on screen afterwards. I'm going to set up the first video right now. And while I'm doing that, can you run a quick check of your body and your emotions and your mental activity? Notice what feels comfortable, supportive, loving, nourishing, and what doesn't. After the video ends, do another check and see whether there's any changes. And with that, let me get the video on. All right. Once again, take a quick scan of your being. And let's see whether any of you noticed any changes. Would anyone like to share?
I can share, JS. I can say that the audio didn't come in as good as I thought it would.
Okay.
So, but the pictures alone were very soothing, yes, and did have an impact.
For those of you on the phone, the pictures were those of Zen gardens, a variety of Zen gardens in the United States and Japan.
I was going to say, JS, that I don't know if it's Pavlovian or what, but as soon as the music, I could hear that lone whistle, my body went, oh.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was transported to a Buddhist temple, maybe in China or Japan, and the flute is the sound of the flute and the pictures combined to make a very peaceful, relaxed atmosphere in my body too. Thank you.
In one or two words, how would you describe that experience?
Relaxing.
Peaceful.
Uh-huh. Who created that experience?
Okay, we're in here. Why don't you go back and try it?
Sure.
People.
Maybe.
Who created the experience? Anybody?
Sounds like a trick question, JS.
I don't know. I'm interested in hearing your answer.
People.
You?
How about you? What role did each of you play in creating the experience?
I would say we were we were accepting it and becoming part of it.
Mm-hmm. What role might you take in creating that experience in a way that it becomes yours rather than something that's presented to you by other people? That it either becomes a collaborative effort on your part as well as people who are providing you with input and stimulation. And then
Using your imagination?
Using your imagination.
I think it depends very strongly on the person and their experiences. For somebody who continually listens to rap music, I don't think they could accept it at all. For myself, as a lover of beautiful music of all kinds, really, and not so beautiful, I was very much in tune to the sound of the flute or whatever wind instrument it was.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was very easy for me to become part of it.
Mm-hmm. Part of what my personal experience going through life is that I create my own experiences by picking and choosing the stimulus in my environment that supports the kind of experiences I want, and then creating them in my mind and my imagination with lots of detail in order to find ways of responding to things that are going on in my world, and to be pretty clear in my life about who I want to be and what I want to exhibit to the world. As a person with a disability, one of the things I felt very strongly about, for example, is I don't want people to pity me. I don't want people to think of me as needing a certain amount of treating me as though I were less than, treating me as though I were in need of lots of comfort because of the wheelchair. Certainly there are times when I want comfort, but for things that other people experience, like a loss of a loved one or a particular financial hardship or something like that. But those are experiences we all have rather than due to my disability. And it really creates an environment for me to project and express myself in ways that don't draw attention to the disability, and I can be have conversations with people about things that we all share. So even though I spend my life sitting in a wheelchair or lying on a special bed, one or the other, I can create experiences for myself and share them with others that transcend that physical reality that I'm in. So what I want to convey is we actually, as creators, we are created in God's image, and God is a creator. There are tremendous opportunities for us to create the kind of world that we live in. Despite the fact that there are a lot of very unsettling things going on in the world these days, we have the ability to create how we respond to them and to gather the stimulus environment that will support it. I want to try another example. Imagine that you're gathered with more than 100 other people in the same physical location for about an hour. And you share a common reason for being there. And as you're formulating this image in your mind, think about who's there with you and how the gathering feels to you emotionally. What thoughts occupy your mind? How does your body respond? And keep adding more and more detail and depth to that image and that experience in your mind, and hold on to that. Can somebody share with me what it was they had in their mind's eye that they, what kind of a gathering were you envisioning?
I was envisioning a church service, actually. So it was like a group of people, and it's an hour long, and you know, like-minded people are all focusing or praying together or singing together, and how powerful. I was experiencing that as a very powerful thing, and something that I really miss, because Zoom, as much as I love it, has its limitations. And yeah, and I miss the physical contact too. The hugging, the shaking hands, all that kind of stuff is very hard to replicate. I mean, there is no substitute. So yeah, that's what I was thinking, how much power there is in a group of people, and how positive that can all be, to all be together praying in one direction.
Were any of the other WCCers envisioning church service in the church?
Yes, I certainly was.
I as well.
Me too.
Yeah. I sort of set it up that way. The experience that I want people to sort of hold on to, as I describe my version of the experience, is morning rush hour on the inbound Kennedy Expressway.
What a surprise.
And so my question is, even if you find yourself in a low stress level environment like rush hour, morning rush hour on the inbound Kennedy Expressway, can you hold on to the depth of the experience that you had and that you were envisioning, especially for those of you who were envisioning a church service at 725 Pine Street? Is it possible to be aware of your surroundings, of being in traffic, and hold on to the essence of what supports you about that gathering that you were envisioning in your mind? How might you do that? And what kind of an impact do you think that would have as you wander down the Kennedy Expressway with your fellow commuters?
I could speak to that. I think I'm off mute.
Yes, you are,
Okay.
Julia.
I used to do that a lot. And I would put on music, usually WFMG, classical music, which means a lot to me. And then I would think about, what are all these people doing? Where are they going? And I would think about them as individuals and make up stories about them. while I was driving, and of course driving very safely and paying attention to what I was doing. But I tried to keep the people involved with me while I was driving down the Kennedy. So it wasn't anger, it was more just community.
I was thinking about what they might be thinking about. And then looking at buildings and, well, watching where I was going, but, you know, kind of checking out the area because you were stopped and you don't get to stop there very often. You're busy going forward.
I would look forward to where I was going. Being a political junkie, frequently it was to a political meeting, as my imagination of being in a room of 100 like-minded people. I get tremendous energy from it. And frequently driving to or from Chicago, I would carry that energy and that excitement, enthusiasm with me because of that, as you said, 100 people with you at a particular time.
And this is
as you're driving down the Kennedy, you see a number of churches. And when I see that, I think of community and the people living in that neighborhood. Some of the houses don't look well kept up, but it's probably a loving community, which we can create in our heads, having been to a place like WCC in our lives.
That sounds like Mary Elaine.
Yes, it is.
Oh.
My point is that in many situations, we actually have the freedom to create our experience and experience our creations in ways that support us and help us through whatever it is that is going on in the world. One of the things that I find is the more I practice that, the more I practice situations where I have the ability to influence how I want to respond to particular situations in my world, the more I see, for example, let's say I want to be experiencing more joy, and I start coming up with mental visions of what joy means to me. I find it more in my environment. I see those things more in my environment. I hear people say things that remind me of joy. I see flowers and I'm reminded of joy. I see, you know, children playing and that reminds me of joy. It's as though the world is presenting me with chances to experience that because I am paying more attention to it as something that I am seeking. And I find this just to be a tremendously creative way, powerful way to be the person that I envision that I want to be, and what my role is in society and life, and what my relationship is with God. I have one more experience that I want to put up on the screen. While it's playing, think about yourself as an active creator, and that how you feel while you're watching this video or listening to the music, and incorporating that into what experiences do I have in my life that give me that sensation and how do I hold those in my mind's eye and as a purpose in life to attract more opportunities to experience that. And let me get this one on the screen. Okay. And for those of you on the phone, the pictures that were on screen were of things that bring me joy. Children blowing bubbles, balloons floating up into the air, a row of brightly colored houses on a street, somebody throwing confetti up into the air, fireworks, and my personal favorite, someone who has decided to put googly eyes on every item in their refrigerator.
That was my favorite too.
So I want to, as we move towards the 8:50 stop time, I want to just invite people to imagine the things that bring them joy. And by joy, I'm not talking necessarily about a long sustained feeling of elation, but something that happens in your life that at least for the next 5 minutes makes you want to jump up and down and shout and share with other people. And perhaps consider spending a little more time in the coming week to actively implant in your mind's eye and in your emotional field what joy is for you, and spend a little time each day purposely looking in your environment for things that do bring you joy, and see what types of changes happen over the coming week that will reinforce that for you on a more consistent basis.
All of those things brought me joy. And one of the joyful things about it also was that it showed the universality of humanity. And there were people from all different backgrounds and races, and there were different places. And they were all being joyous, with that we could all be that way together.
One of the things about joy is that many of the things that do bring us joy turn out to be universal. A feeling of lightness and abundance and color, hence the confetti, the hands throwing the confetti in the air, children blowing bubbles, brightly colored houses, balloons. Those sorts of things are almost universal in how people of different cultures and parts of the world view and experience joy.
Makes me want to make a list.
Yeah, isn't that great? Yeah.
Joyce. Mhm.
Because there are so many opportunities to experience joy, both in terms of things you see, things you hear, things you smell. Think about the smells coming out of the kitchen that just make you want to go, I can't wait to eat that, and share that with my friends and the people that are eating with me. And it's, for me, it's one of those things that's so easy because you can do it in the shower. How good does the water feel on my skin? And it's just the right temperature. How fuzzy my towel feels as I'm drying myself off. Those feelings of joy and comfort can come in many, many shapes and forms.
JS, I want to thank you for your presentation today. It helped us, I think, get in touch with our true selves. By true selves, I mean that part of us that's holy, sacred, divine, transcendent, and infinite. And if there's no better way to start a day, a Sunday, and a new week. Thank you so much. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here, especially to members of my personal cheerleading squad.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you for your messages. They were beautiful.
Yeah, we're so glad to have you with us, Deirdre. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you, JS.